Hello and welcome to my channel. Here I review new movies and television shows and try to release a new review every day from Monday to Friday. Today's movie is The Reading. It's a thriller horror with supernatural elements. Courtney Glaude wrote and directed the film, and it stars Monique, Tanisha Hardiman, and Chastity Surreal. There are minor spoilers related to plot structure and character backgrounds in this video. The story follows Emma, played by Monique, a woman whose family was killed during a home invasion and who now tours the country selling her book and talking about her experience. Her publicist hires a medium to come to a reading, and she finds herself reliving it. Skye, played by Chastity Surreal, a young woman capable of speaking with the dead, works as a medium. People come to her, and she connects them to their dead relatives, and lets them speak through her. She wants to stop, but her coworker and friend, Gregory, convinces her to do one more job. When Skye and her friends do a reading for Emma, hoping to give her peace, she makes the strongest connection she ever has, and realizes that something awful is about to happen. The movie opens with a horror sequence hook, showcasing the murder of Emma's family and the moments leading up to it. This sequence is horrifying and brutal, and left me feeling nothing but sympathy for Emma. When the movie time skips, we see Emma limping and talking with a raspy voice. She's still so hurt that she speaks with big pauses between words and sounds like she's struggling with every single one. Monique does a fantastic job of playing a sympathetic character. You just want to give her a hug and help her track down the men who did it. Then we meet Skye and her friends. We're given a brief introduction to them, what they do, and how they got to the point of doing a reading for Emma. The film also introduces the supernatural elements. The story is thrilling and interesting and keeps you invested right up until the twist. The supernatural elements with Skye connecting to the dead were some of the best parts of the film. Chastity Surreal acts terrified of the experience when she's talking about it. And when we're first introduced to her doing it, she's staring a hole into somebody who isn't visible. During the reading at Emma's house, she's thrashing around wildly, making irregular movements that look painful, while veins start popping out of her face. They overlay her voice with another to make this kind of demonic sound, and they play cracking noises during her thrashing so it sounds like her bones are breaking while she moves. It's a creepy experience, and the movie incorporates it well. When they just suddenly dropped all of the supernatural elements after the reveal, it felt a little jarring. Skye's ability to speak to the dead seems like it might have been useful to her given the situation, but I understand that it was a little too impractical to make use of. Her friends and the sister-in-law who end up being the victims of the slasher are some of the blandest people ever. Thankfully, the movie doesn't spend much time on them. We get a brief introduction to them, their names and affiliations, but they don't speak much. We get a little bit of information about the main characters Skye and Emma, a bit of their personality, and their backstories, but they don't spend that much time on character development in this film. It's more about the scenario than the people in it. The film does have a bit of a lull, as the victims attempt to escape the house. There's a big gap between kills where the killer seems unable or unwilling to hunt them down, and the victims attempt to reason with them. The killer has a great time playing with their food, taunting them, and manipulating them. During the lull, we get the killer's motivations, but it felt like they could have done this while keeping up the momentum. When the killer finally strikes again, it's actually a great moment that makes up for the lull a bit. The killer ends up being the most interesting character in the film. They're a selfish, psychopathic person who says and does the most outlandish things. It's a bit of a stereotypical character, but the person playing it does so with such charisma and passion that it's impossible not to get swept up in their game too. One of my favorite moments was their third kill. You're getting kind of bored with how things are playing out, and the killer is speaking to the victims so casually when they notice something out of place. They smile and execute the victim in a ruthless manner with a cold one-liner. It reignites the movie's tempo, and from that point on, everyone goes all out. The victims finally try fighting back, and the killer stops holding back. I found it comical how useless the victims had been up to that point, and was kind of glad at least one of them didn't want to go out like that. The cast does a good job of acting afraid, and the killer does an amazing job of scaring the hell out of you. But the entire time, you almost want to root for the killer despite how evil they are. The characters are all just the lamest people, with no survival skills. This includes Skye, who only lives as long as she does by luck, rather than using her power or outsmarting the killer. She abandons her friends multiple times and does a lot of helpless crying. The visuals are stunning. Every shot is crisp and smooth, and they frame the conversations in a highly impactful way. They pick a great angle, and then they just let the actors cook while they hold the shot for an extended time. It gives Monique and Chastity Surreal a chance to flesh out their performances, and both of them knock that ball out of the park during their moments. Surreal during her readings, and Monique pretty much every time she's on screen. The kills tend to be visually impactful in a way that you can feel deep in your chest. At one point, we watch the killers sink a giant knife into a victim's chest, and their last struggle has your heart sink as the knife does. Sound-wise, the film is generally quiet, but uses music in highly effective ways when it does. For example, we hear a fun, upbeat song playing on the radio, and the characters are enjoying it, only for it to fade away when the killers enter the house, and a tense sound fills the air. A low guttural rumble, eerie high-pitched tones, and then the song takes prominence again, while the killer is brutalizing their victims. It contrasts beautifully with the moment. This fun, upbeat song playing while the killer is smashing their victim's head in. There are a few mood tracks here and there that fill out the backgrounds of different scenes as well, like when Skye and Emma are talking about what happened to her, or when the characters are starting to feel a little tense. Overall, The Reading is a solid horror film. It hooked me in quickly, gave me a killer that I actually liked, and took me on a fun journey. There were bad moments, and I didn't care very much for Skye and her team of goofballs, but I enjoyed watching them try to survive that house. 7 out of 10.